Well, when I first started coaching, I thought helping people meant having the right answers. Let me say that again, right off the top. When I first started coaching many years ago, I thought helping people meant having the right answers, the right scriptures. You know what I'm talking about. But today I wanted to share with you something that maybe will help you as a life coach, or particularly a Christocentric life coach, because more than 30 years of experience, from real experience, people have heard problems that you wouldn't believe the problems. But here's the inspiration that maybe that you need to hear. It's not a mystical encounter when you're with people. It's actually done. You do the work when you sit across from people with real problems, and you know it's not a polished presentation from nobody. Nobody. I won't take any sides of real life coaching, but the I don't want to talk about an Instagram version or YouTube version. I want to talk about a live, real version, the version that shapes people when there's tears and there's breakthroughs and there's awakening. This unmistakable the presence of Christ in the room. Let's talk about help, hope, and healing. Let's talk about that. One of my favorite phrases. It's not a concept, but it's things I've watched unfold with my own eyes. Help looks different when you've been in the room. Let me say it again. Help looks different when you've been in the room. When I first started coaching, well, again, I say, I thought I had the right answers, going to be in the right scriptures in particular, and the right strategies. But after a few hundred sessions, I learned something surprising. Most people don't need answers. Well, is that a surprise? That most people don't need answers. They need someone who isn't intimidated by their story. They're not. You're not intimidated by the story. I've had people who sit down in front of me and just whisper things that they never would say out aloud. And I've watched their shoulders drop the moment they realize I'm not flinching. I'm not flinching. That's when help begins. Not when I talk, but when they realize that they're safe. I must state that again. When they realize that they're safe in a safe environment. This is the work that most people don't talk about. It's creating a space where they can be themselves. Christ can speak to the parts of them that they've been hiding for many years. Hope isn't a pep talk, it's a transfer. Let's say that again. Hope isn't a pep talk, it's a transfer. I used to think that hope was something that you explain. It was rah, something you teach. But hope is something that you carry. I've had people walk into the session with eyes that look like they haven't been seen in the light in months. Shoulders tight, voice flat, everything about them said, I'm tired. And then something in the middle of the conversation, something shifts. Their breathing changes, their posture changes, their language changes. Not because I hyped them up with something special that I said, not because I gave them a motivational speech, but because Christ in me awakened Christ in them. I mistake that. Because Christ in me awakened Christ in them. Hope is contagious when it's rooted in union, not effects. Healing is rarely dramatic, but it's always real. People imagine healing as a single breakthrough moment. And yes, that's true. I've seen that. But I've seen people go quiet because something deep inside just unlocked. But most healing, quite frankly, is subtle, is steady, it's almost sneaky. It looks like by the first time someone stops apologizing for existing, the moment they catch themselves speaking from identity rather than obscurity. The day they realize that things they used to trigger them doesn't have that same power anymore. Healing is often quiet, but it's unmistakable. And once it starts, it doesn't go backwards. The surprising, the surprise that nobody tells you about, here it is. I didn't expect when I started coaching, as I said, to get transformed too. Every time I walk someone back into the truth of their union with Christ, I too am reminded of my own union with Christ. Every time I have someone release shame, I notice that place I've been carrying in mind that was released. Every time I watch someone step into freedom, I still feel that spirit of freedom that tugs me in areas where I needed freedom. I don't sell for less, I sell for more. Coaching becomes a mirror, a sanctified one, if you will. The work is simple, but it's not small. Let me take that again. The work is simple, but not small. People ask me all the time, what exactly do you do as a Christocentric coach? And the honest answer is simple. I listen, I discern, and I remind people of what's already true. And I refuse to partner with their shame. I hold space until they can hold truth. That's it. But don't confuse simple with small, because when someone remembers who they are in Christ, then they stop living from fear and shame and start living from union of who they are and who they've always been, one in Him. When they realize that they're not trying to become something, they're awakening to what they already are. That's not small. That's a resurrection life experience, a transformation, if you will. The heart of this calling is summarized in the life of Bristol uh, Century Coach is just one line, and it would be this: it's learning to stay anchored in Christ. It's learning to stay anchored in Christ, while others, well, they anchor in other words. And that's the joy of this calling is that if this resonates with you and it's something that you're interested in becoming a Christocentric coach, then I'd love to sit down and chat with you on a Zoom or WhatsApp. And let me share with you my journey of more than 30 years. And I would like to share with you how you too can learn to do this work because you think maybe just beyond your reach, but it's not. So let's do a WhatsApp or well, a Zoom, and let's just talk about this together. And just perhaps, this may be the best, well, interview that you've seen today on this particular presentation. I'm Dr. Cecil Cockerham, the founder and president of the American Seminary, and I'd love to help you get your seminary accredited degree with us. Over take a look. We have a lot of great coursework and a lot of great adjunct professors. So if I can help you get your education in some way, let me know. And send me an email shout out at Dr. Cecil. That's right, Dr. Cecil at Teach Truth. Dr. Cecil at Teach Truth. And let me help you get your education at the American Seminary where you get an accredited degree. Let me say that again, an accredited degree for a degree in maybe coaching, counseling, theology, or just whatever. We have a lot of coursework that's available. Some undergraduate, some graduate work. And we're working on a PhD program that'll be hopefully available this year. But nevertheless, I'd love to have a little chat with you on a Zoom or WhatsApp. Give me a shout out at Dr. Cecil at Teach Truth. Dr. Cecil at teachtruth.net. And so let's meet again on a Zoom or WhatsApp.